I know, and it's the show that takes broken treasures and gives them a new lease of life.
Yes, and last night, Jay Blades and his team of expert craftspeople reopened their doors to welcome us back to the repair shop. It's the show that makes you so warm and fuzzy, doesn't it? I was getting emotional then. I mean, you've seen a tiny clip. And Jay's joining us now, of course, started again last night. Are you excited to be back? Because it's just the show that everybody loves to watch, don't they?
It's gorgeous. I am unbelievably excited. Well, the whole team is excited for us to be back because we've been filming it during lockdown and just the stories, the items, the repairs, it's just phenomenal. And we couldn't wait for you guys to see it. And I'm glad that everybody saw it last night because it's
really,
gorgeous.
It strikes a chord with everyone. I mean, you get viewing figures that, you know, most people would really dream of. You know, in their wildest dreams, they dream of 7 million people.
Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it?
So what is it then? Is it the fact that Rosh says, you know, it is heartwarming and we do love to... There's the little challenge there, the challenge for you guys doing the work, but for us watching, we know we're probably quite safe, that you're going to make it OK.
We've got over 600 years of experience in the barn, so we're quite safe with regards to what comes through the doors that we can actually fix it.
Yeah.
But having those kind of figures does have a responsibility of we don't want to become the same old, same old. So every year I ask the team in front and behind the camera, let's give it 60% more. So that means let's push ourselves to repair something that we've never, ever done before. And this series, you're going to see that. It's unbelievable.
Your passion for that, it really reads, doesn't it? It really, really comes across. What I love is we all love that nostalgia. There's always that thing that we would love that if, you know, my favourite bear, I mean, you know, if I still had her, that if she could be as special as she was, you know, back then. And what you really do get is that real sense of craftsmanship, because you don't just see it and it's like, oh, yeah, that looks nice.
Yeah.
It's so special and so perfect and so brand new.
Yeah, it is. And I think the team in front of the camera, they work really, really hard to just make sure that we give someone back their memories of what they remember. So if someone had a little teddy bear, let's say, for instance, and they remember it when they was 5 years old, they might be coming in, they're 65 now. It's a case of, let's bring them right back. And that's what we aim to do.
Yeah.
Well, you fix things. That's the thing. Now, there have been times in your life where you've needed fixing yourself. And your autobiography, Making It, is out in paperback today. But when you read it, and you have gone, we'll get to the sort of darkest times in a minute.
Right.
Grew up in Hackney with your mum, you've got your half-brother, Justin. You said your childhood was beautiful.
Yeah, growing up on a council estate. I know some people think it's gloomy and stuff like that, but I had the best time. It's a bit like Enid Blyton's, you know, Famous Five. They used to go round in the countryside and have all those adventures. Take the countryside out and just plant in a council estate. That's exactly what it was like. Picking blackberries, plums, the whole shebang. I had the best time, and that's where I kind of model what I'm trying to do later on in life, is that community aspect that I had in Hackney is exactly what I'm trying to copy in the real world.
TMW... CTMB.
OK. The man who contributed towards my birth,
I got one of those.
You got one of those?
Got one of those.
Thank you.
When I read this morning, for me, because I've always had this very, you know, and I've spoken about it before, an odd relationship where I'm aware, but I've never had a relationship with him. So it really sort of, as you said that, it really, a light bulb went off, and I thought, that's exactly...
Thank you.
Honestly, it was so nice to read that.
I've never met anybody who agrees with that, because the way I see it is, if you've got a mechanic and he never fixes a car, you can't call him a mechanic. So to have the title as a father or a dad, you have to have some of those responsibilities along with it.
Well, it's a real privilege, isn't it? It's a privileged title.
Yeah, so that's why I call him the man who contributed towards my birth, because that's what he did. He's done nothing else apart from that.
Do you have contact?
He has contact with me, but I tend to kind of brush him off.
OK. And so, you know, you've got this, as you say, it's Famous Five, you know, you're dealing with that, that's fine, you've got that, got that sorted in your head, you know where that is. And then you get to secondary school. And then the wheels come off, because then the world suddenly gets really rather ugly.
Yeah, it's when I went to secondary school, growing up in Hackney, I never experienced racism or being called certain names. So when I was walking around the corridors and people were calling me names, I thought they were names of endearment. I thought they were nice names, so I'm waving to, because I've never heard them before.
Oh, gosh.
And then when I went back to my community, what happened is I started calling some of the elders those names, and they're like, well, hold on a minute, where'd you get that name from? That's not a good name to be using. Then they explained it to me, and one of my friends then came to my school and for me to point out the people that were calling me those names, and then he beat them up, is what happened, yeah.
So obviously, like you say, you had this sort of magical, you know, yes, Beautiful. You grew up on the council estate, but that's not what it's about, right? Yeah. When you're a kid, you have those experiences and you had a magical childhood. It takes that turning point, and it did become really quite dark. So like you say, you were, you know, a horrible subject to that racist behaviour.
Yeah.
I read something about that children would pay you in puddings for you to stand up for them.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Tell us about that.
There was kind of like a lot of bullying going on in school, and it was down to race or you just looked different. And children used to come along, and with the free school dinners, they used to give us puddings. If it was trifle, it wasn't going to happen on that day because I don't like trifle or rice pudding. But basically, they would pay us puddings, and they would say, "Well, this person's picked on me, and this is what he said about my mum," and so on and so. They took my lunch money, and then me and my group of friends, we used to go around and protect those people.
And what did that involve?
Beating people up was basically it, and getting the money back, or taking back, sometimes it was pens. It was, if you coming to school and you had a brilliant, brand new pen set, someone will pick on you and take that off of you, and then they'll come to us because they can't go home without that pen set because the mum might have spent a lot of money on it. So they'll come to us and we'll get it back.
You're very honest in here.
Yeah.
You talk about you left school at 15. You talked your way into uni when you in your 30s.
Yeah.
You discovered that you were dyslexic, which you describe as your superpower, and I think Holly would say the same thing as well with that. Always on a mission to give back to people from disadvantaged backgrounds. It's got you your MBE. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But you do say about 7 years ago and these are your words, you didn't see yourself in tomorrow.
Yes, yeah. So 7 years ago, everything flopped for me. The charity I was running, my relationship, my marriage that I was in, and I basically just got in the car and just drove. For me, what it was is basically I couldn't see myself in tomorrow, so I was looking for a bridge to drive into. That's basically it. But my naivety, as I'm driving up the motorway, every bridge had a barrier. So I'm driving up and I'm like, OK, the next bridge. OK, the next bridge. And it didn't happen. And the car started flashing, like the petrol light came on. And then I turned off. And I remember sitting in a kind of, I think it's like a retail park where there's loads of different shops. And I stayed there for a whole week in the car, just sitting there. Night and day came, and it was just, I wasn't existing in that particular life. And I couldn't see myself in tomorrow. So, yeah, that's where it was 7 years ago.
I always say this, for those of us who have been in the darkest of times, the fact that you are here, you are in a successful TV show, you are giving back enormously to the communities that you can. I am here. You know, life is good, and that if you are in that place when it gets that dark, thank God the bridges had barriers round, because looking at yourself now, you are in an entirely different place, and it does get better.
It does get better. And I think, for me, one of the biggest things for me was, like, growing up in Hackney, you didn't show your vulnerability. You became a victim if you did that. And the one thing that happened that was that massive turning point was I cried in front of another man, and I let go. I actually showed my vulnerability, I asked for support and help, and I received it. And then that's just sent me on this kind of upward spiral. It's almost as if I've been born again. It's the weirdest experience. Like 7 years ago, I fell down, and then it took me about a year to get myself sorted. And then I was on TV, BBC One, Money for Nothing. Yeah, 6 years ago I started. And then here I am chatting to you guys. It's like, wow. Sometimes I have to pinch myself, you know what I mean? I've met the Prince, I've got a medal. It's like, what? Really?
Yes, you have.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And you say that, I mean, you, with the Prince of Wales, you share a massive interest in, you know, restoration, and so I'm sure you had a lot to talk about. Just very quickly, you are on your book tour, you met Claire, and I know that it's her birthday.
Yes, Claire's birthday. Well, I'm on this book tour and I'm meeting all these people, and this young girl came up and she's in a wheelchair, and I went to, you know, you go down.
Yes.
She stood up and she just came to me and just hugged me. So where am I? Claire, happy birthday, Claire. How you doing, girl? You all right? Nice one.
There you go.
It was
You are lovely.
special.
So
Making
lovely.
It is the book that we've been talking about, and of course the Repair Shop is Wednesdays at 8 on BBC One. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.